All right, peace and love, family. This is Sharice, the realist. I'm super excited to have a great special guest here. We've been in the talks trying to figure out how we were going to work things out and come together, and I'm just really honored and excited to have this brother come on this platform and talk about his experience and talk about his life and anything that we just get into. I'm just honored and privileged to have the voice of the Aboriginal Job
Yep, yep,
Bricks.
yep. What's up? What's up? What's up? What's
Yay!
up, family? I'm honored too. Thank you for the invitation. Thank you for the
Thank
invitation. Yep. Let's
Thank
get
you
it.
so much. It was no problem. I was looking forward to it. Everything that you do, I've been following you for quite some time now, and just was overall impressed with your delivery, with what you have to say, and how you articulate yourself. So those were like the main reasons why I felt like, let me see if I could get him on here and be my first guest. So
Yep,
it's
yep,
really, really an honor for me as
yep.
well.
And it's an
So
honor to be your
let's
first guest. Let's get it. Let's set the bar then. Let's set the
yeah.
bar.
All
Let's set
right
the
then.
bar.
So let's start. Let's start real slight. Okay. So I want to know, like, so how did you come up with your name, and what's the story behind that?
So my name is Brickz. Um, Basically my whole life, my family been calling me Jaja. So that's always been my nickname. Even in high school, my teachers called me Jaja. So that's always been around with me. And Bricks represents my hometown, Brick City, Newark, New Jersey. So that's where the bricks come from.
Mm.
So that's where I'm
Oh,
from,
okay.
Newark, New
From
Jersey.
Jersey.
Red Man from my hometown. Lauren Hill from my hometown, and Lauren Hill happened to be one of my favorite artists of all time as well. I like her message, and with my music, I like to pattern my message like how she patterns her message. We actually need somebody like her in this generation, to be honest. Yep,
I agree. I agree. I love Lauren Hill. So you already answered my other question. Then is like, where are you from and everything like that.
yep, yep,
So
yep.
when So when did you realize that, for the first time, like when did you realize like, damn, like, they've been lying to us, and what sparked your journey of awakening?
Separate times. So my first ever time knowing about my identity, like really that I could remember, was when I was in first grade. So when I was in first grade, my
Mm,
mom, I just remember my mom always teaching me that my grandmother was Indian and stuff like that. So I've been hearing that my whole life. My grandmother used to allude to it a little bit. Just, we Indian, we Indian, we Indian. So one day I went to my mom and I asked her, I said, so, and this is crazy, at a very young age, like 6 years old, I came to my mom, I said, so if grandma is Indian, how did we become black? I literally asked her that question when I was 6 years old. I'm like, and she didn't answer the question really, because she really didn't know herself. So I kinda, you know how you ask a person a question and then you give them the answer? I kind of
mhm.
gave her the answer by saying, well, maybe her husband was black, and that's how we became black. And then it was the end of that conversation, right? But here's where I realized that being indigenous, this is still when I'm 6. Here's when I realized that it was a big deal. I was in school, and when I was in school, my teacher was talking about the Indians. Around this time, they was actually calling them Indians in school. I don't know when the whole Native American thing start coming into play, but I remember them calling them American Indians in school when I was a child. But I also remember,
Mhm,
like, when I got a little older, they start calling them Native Americans too. So I don't know when that switched, but
mhm.
they was calling them American Indians when I was a child. And I knew that, so I talked to my teacher. And when I talked to my teacher, I was like, the teacher was like, so yeah, if you're an American Indian, you're able to be tax exempt. You're able to go to college for free. So I was excited. So I'm like, wow. So I'm an Indian, so I could. So I told my teacher, I said, oh, I'm an Indian, so that means I could go to college for free, right? And she was like, you should have seen her face. Her face like turned up, like she got like upset, like not really upset, but like a little. It was a crazy look she gave me, and she said, Well, you gotta prove it. And I never forgot that day. She said, well, you gotta prove it.
Mm,
And then I'm like,
mm,
how would I prove? I never knew how to prove it. So that happened. That was like a distant memory. Then I don't remember really too much about it after that. And then that was that. Started to fall for the propaganda as I got older. We all
mhm,
come from Africa, blah, 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 blah. I knew we was Indian, but I'm like, okay, if my grandfather is black, I'm still black then. You feel me? Even though I know I'm Indian, I'm like, well, my grandfather must be black, so that made me black, or whatever the case may be. So I just thought of it from that standpoint. So I
mhm,
got older, got older, got older, and then eventually I start dibbling dabbling into the little Pan African paradigm. We all come from Africa. They taught me in school we all come from Africa. Then I seen Hidden Colors. Hidden Colors was when I was my first time being a knowledgeable person ever in my life. Like
mm,
before Hidden Colors, I was a knucklehead. You know what I'm saying? Grew up in the projects. Regular degular knucklehead until I seen Hidden Colors by Tariq Nasheed.
mhm.
That awoke in me. But also the fact that awoke in me, it awoke in me to a Pan African paradigm though.
Right.
So that was it was a gift and a curse. It awakened me to any knowledge, period. And I seen Dr. Umar, and you gotta
Mhm.
understand, it's different phases of consciousness. When you're in
Absolutely.
the hood, like I was in the hood, any smooth talking person you think is the smartest person in the world. So when I seen Dr. Umar, I thought he was the smartest person in the world. I ain't even gonna lie to you. I'm like, wow, wow, like, wow, we really come from Africa. Marcus Garvey, blah, 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 blah. That's how it was with that. And that's when I first came into consciousness.
Mhm.
Now, if you want to go towards the when I became into the consciousness of the indigenous, that's a whole nother segment. But
Okay.
that's my first time becoming conscious, period, though. Hitting colors.
Absolutely. I get it. I think there's always something that will, like, something's not right here. And I
Mm-hmm.
think for me, that's exactly what happened. I think for me, it was much later in my life. I want to say maybe 26, 27. So definitely like much later in life. I had absolutely no clue about any of it. I will say, like, we used to hear it, like, all the talks in the family all the time about having Indian in us. And, we knew of it because I'm from DC and my family line is in Virginia. So we know that in Virginia, a lot of the things was going on with the Racial Integrity Act and Plecker. And I know for a fact that my family had experienced a lot at the hands of that type of uh, act, and them changing the classifications of race, and it affected my people because I had an ancestor on the fifth generation on my line, and she was white uh, for the on a census, and then 10 years later she was mulatto on another, and I was like, and I think that was the first time that I really knew that it was the truth. Like, I knew that it was the truth before, but it's different once you start looking into it on your own, and you can say, damn, well, okay, well, all right, well, okay, maybe it's some validity to these claims that has been being made. So let's just go into that, when
I,
we're talking about lies and things like that. So in your opinion, what is the biggest lie that you think has constituted this movement? So what, like, overall, what is the biggest lie that everybody was like, what, we're Aboriginal and we know it? And what was that for you? Like, what did you realize in history that kind of, I mean, I'm trying to make it make sense, I guess, but like,
yeah, yeah.
what,
No, I get what you're saying.
yeah, occurred for you that, or it could even be just a personal experience. It don't even have to be something historical. You know what I mean? Like, any type of experience that might have said, damn it, y'all niggas is lying. And now we're on our own talking points with this shit. From now on, we're telling our own stories. So, how did you feel like you
Um,
got to that point? Excuse me.
I got to that point. I really got to that point. Like my fully awakening to the indigenous consciousness was when I was 24. So that's when I first came into
Mm-hmm.
the awakening. And what pushed me towards it was police brutality. So
Mm-hmm.
this was like around the I don't know if it was around that time, but I think it was like around the Michael Brown.
Mm.
What's the other kid name?
Trayvon Martin.
Trayvon. Yeah. So I had questions. So I'm like, so I'm thinking I'm African. So I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
okay. So they just kidnapped us and got us over here on this land. This when I start making common sense out of it. Like, okay, so we're all just prisoners on this land, and nobody came to come get us or none of that. Like, where's our people? You know what I'm saying? Like, where are these people at? Like, where are my ancestors? Where Because what they wanted to do with the African paradigm is they wanted to erase our lineage by
Mm-hmm.
saying it got lost through the Middle Passage.
Mm-hmm.
That was the major part of slavery was for you not to have a lineage, for you not to have a lineage, period. Right? So I came across I came across a guy named Dan Calloway
Mm-hmm.
on the
Shout out to the
internet.
brother.
Yeah. And I seen a video. I want to say it's this video. I'm not 100% sure, but I seen a video called How History Was Told in Reverse. So that's not an indigenous video. That's just a curiosity video. So I stepped on it. I clicked
Mm-hmm.
on it. He started saying how we was Indian. I turned it right off. I said, I don't want to hear this BS. I don't want to hear this BS. Came across the video again a year after that and said, you know what? Let me be open minded. Watch the video in its totality. And then when I was 6 years old, clicked in my head. And I said, oh, snap. This is serious here. And
Mm-hmm.
from that moment, and then he taught me a word. The word he taught me that woke me up was indoctrinated. I didn't know what indoctrinated meant.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't know I was indoctrinated. If you don't know if you don't even know what a word means, you're not gonna know that you're a victim to that. So
Mm-hmm.
when I looked up the word indoctrinated, I thought about school. I said, "Oh snap! I'm indoctrinated." Indoctrinated means to accept beliefs uncritically. So uncritically means without questioning it, without making sense of it. You just accepting it. And I said, okay, I'm indoctrinated. Once I realized that I was indoctrinated and everything else he was saying, and then it aligned with me always knowing I was an Indian my whole life, it clicked right there for me. That's when everything
Yes.
clicked. So I can honestly say, um, Dan Calloway was the first person to wake me up as far as knowing I was indigenous. And I'm not going front, not gonna act like that was the truth. You know what I'm saying? We don't know each other and none of that, but that was the truth though. You know what I'm saying? I can't lie about that at all. I don't agree with him with everything, but he gets that
Mm-hmm.
credit though. 100%. 100%.
Absolutely. And you
Yeah.
know what? I'm glad that you said that I don't agree with everything, because you know what? That's where our due diligence comes in at. And that's where we go and we do our research to try to figure out the truth. And I will say shout out to Dane, because I know for a fact that he said it time and time again to look into it for yourself. You don't have to take his
Yep.
word for it. And
Yep.
I always tell people, the moment that you go and do that, when you go and look into your family and you're like, oh shit, what was happening here? Okay, oh damn, they were here all this time. Think I could go back to the 1700s and they here? Then it'll start to click, because what I always tell people is that I have yet to find um a slave owner, if that makes any sense, in my family line. Like, the people that were slave owners in my family line owned a nominal members of their families. So it wasn't this thing where they were getting whipped and beat or nothing like that. No, absolutely not. Like, they owned their land, and due to the circumstances at that time, You know what I mean? They were able to buy their family members and, keep their family on that land. So, I always tell people it's just like you have to really look into like the etymology of things. You have to understand really like the deep context behind what was going on because and I saw your video, and I see a lot of your videos as well, but I think the video that stood out to me was I think it was probably your most recent one about the movie called what's the movie?
Leave the world behind.
Leave
Leave
the
the
World
world behind.
Behind. There we go. I couldn't get the movie together, but you had dropped something, some very interesting things in there, and I think that a lot of people like think that slavery was just this thing only across one racial line, and that it was only black people and all of this stuff. You know what I mean? But then we go to find out, damn, okay, oh, they were Slavs, they was enslaved too. Oh, they came over and they were getting sentenced over here because they were criminals and they were doing things, and that's why they were on this territory. See, people don't know these things, but that takes a lot of due diligence, and I always tell people just look into it, and they'll tell you like, yeah, like their independence came because their asses were enslaved over here. It's facts. Okay.
Exactly. And that's what I wanted to bring attention to. I wanted to
Yes.
bring attention to the fact that in the 1700s, they were slaves.
Hmm.
So this whole 400-year narrative is flawed because, and who, guess how they became free? That's the that's the big thing that no one's talking about that I had to bring light to. They became free from joining an Indian tribe. You cannot make that up.
Nope.
That is insane. Look it
It,
up. If you look up Charles Thompson, they're going to say that he was an Indian of the Lenape. This is facts. This
Mhm.
is all facts.
And that's how
And-
they assimilated themselves, and that's how they were communicating, and all of these things. And I even would go as far as to say that's why the English language is the way that it is too, because of their communications throughout, all of the native languages. Because from my understanding, there was about 800 right here on this landmass. So I know it was hard to communicate when everyone's speaking a different tongue. So I know that they had to come up with some type of tongue that everybody could speak and communicate with together. I just think that our ancestors were just swindled. You know,
Yep.
it's
That's pretty much
yeah,
what it
yeah,
was.
but
And that's pretty much what it was. And I like to tell people this, right? We love our ancestors, but we need to love our children more. Period.
mhm,
Because our ancestors is the reason we got into the situation we in now. Our children are going to be the ones to get us out. And I always say that. So, yes, we love our ancestors. We love where we came from. But we need to put more effort into our children. They're going to carry the torch and take us further to where we need to go as far as this knowledge. So I
absolutely.
always like to say that.
No, I totally agree. I'm a mother myself. I have one child. I strongly believe in teaching her about who mommy is as a person and who our family is and what we come from and how significant that is, because I think that we live in a world today where they want to make us feel bad for being who we are. They want to put this imagery out there that, oh, we're just this awful group of people, but in fact, we're an amazing group of people, and we are a resilient group of people. And I think that a lot of times that gets overlooked, with the losing of our identities, with the crime in our community, when we're talking about the health disparities, when we're talking about economics and everyone not being able to be on the same level. And then even as far as our personal relationships with one another, how a lot of
Yep.
those things can be severed and messed up all the time due to just the combination of everything that we've already been through. And I really hope that at some point we can move past that and really focus on what's important, and that's liberating each other, giving each other the correct information, and like you said, so that our children can grow up with this knowledge and grow up strong, and they can represent it and know that it's the truth, and
Absolutely.
that's a truth that no one can take away, like they've done for
Absolutely.
so many years.
Absolutely.
just taking it away.
Absolutely.
So, and I'm glad that you said that, because my next question was going to be like, outside of YouTube or Instagram, how do you spread your awareness and how do you empower others, with this Aboriginal paradigm information?
So how I'll empower others is in plenty different type of ways. Like I'm actually a boots on the ground type of person. Give
Mhm.
me 1 second. I gotta turn on this air. I'm getting a little
Go
hot.
ahead.
Can you give me a second,
Go
please?
ahead. You all right?
That's all.
Ryan. Oops. I gotta get that edited now.
Okay, we good. All right, we good.
Great. I
Yeah.
forgot you to pause it and stuff. Oh Lord. Me and Straight
Oh
Smoke will
yeah,
be
you can
working
pause
on
it.
this.
Okay.
I didn't
Okay.
even know
Yeah.
you could pause it. Like I said, I'm new to all of this, so I'm still trying to figure it out myself. So do you
Yeah, it's all
remember
good.
the last line of questioning when I asked you, how do you, oh yeah, I remember now. How do you empower others
Yeah. So
outside of
how I
Instagram and YouTube?
how I empower others is by teaching them that we're indigenous and helping them become tax exempt.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm tax exempt, by the way. So when I
Amazing.
so yeah, so hold on, let me show you. So when I go to like these are all my receipts. These are all my tax exempt receipts. So like you're probably ain't gonna be able to see it, but if
You
you
know
if
what? Yeah, I'm hip to that whole process because
okay.
yeah, yeah, I'm hip to
Yeah.
that whole process.
Yeah.
I
So
believe it.
that's
Yeah.
so that's how I show people. I show people how to become tax exempt because that's reparations for us. We cannot continue to fund our own demise through paying taxes to our oppressor.
Mm-hmm.
Period. So I show people how to become tax exempt. I show people how to operate in their indigenous status, right? So what I mean by operating in your indigenous status is you're operating based off how the Constitution refer to you. So a lot of people think that in the Constitution we are 3/5. No, we're Indians, not tax. That's what we are. So
Mm-hmm.
that's the status. So they spoke about us in the Constitution and they put respect on our name. So that's what we need to do moving
Tap into.
forward to exactly. Exactly.
Mm-hmm. That
So
Indian not
I
tax.
do that. Yeah, I do that. Um, I also, I got my health business that I do. And I show people basically how to heal. And I also show them how we can teach medicine through our indigenous status as well.
Mm-hmm.
What
Let's just go ahead. Go
go
ahead. Go
ahead.
ahead.
Nah,
Because
go ahead, go ahead, go ahead.
I love you. No, I was just gonna say because I love your health stuff. I think like the first time I was like, whoa, like this guy's making a lot of sense was your Captain Planet whole little thing, the elements of I
Yeah,
love
yeah,
that.
yeah.
You know what? And what was so interesting is that I love that show growing up.
Yep,
I
yep.
loved Captain Planet. And it's just like now it's amazing how you can use those things and really use it as an example to bring to light everything that you're trying to say and convey. And I think that that's the beautiful thing about uh imagery and about messages and things like that, that you can use those things to help reach your audience and help them understand what it is you're trying to say. And I think that that was great. I thought it was a great example to use. I was just like, whoa, I don't even think people were realizing that they were learning shit when they were watching Captain Planet. So
Exactly.
I really
Exactly.
enjoyed that, and I was like, wow, like that. Yeah, I so
Yeah, when
yeah,
I learned that, when I
that's it.
learned about yeah, when I learned about the elements, that snapped right into my mind. Like, hold up, Captain Planet used to teach us about the elements, the four elements, and then heart. But they had the four elements: earth, wind, fire, and water. Those was the four elements of earth. and it all came together, and you created Captain Planet. So yeah, that was definitely an eye opener for me. I didn't even know I was learning stuff when I was watching it as well. So it was definitely an eye opener.
Yeah, they love to drop it in there on you every now and then.
Yep,
You be
yep,
like, oh
yep,
shit.
yep, yep.
It's always when you get older, you be like, wait, that's what you was saying. That's what it meant. You know,
Hmm.
it's a beautiful thing though, because I always say like that just comes with knowing that your mind is elevating and it's growing and it's getting stronger, and it's, you know, in terms of understanding. So I always love that, just being able to be like, oh damn, like that's correct, duh. So anyway,
Yep.
let's keep rocking, because I mean I don't got too much for you left, but we're gonna make it shake because I think we're having a great conversation. So my next question for you is what challenges have you faced in your journey of awakening and speaking out? So, you know, let's just anything, you know, any type of challenge that you might have experienced when it comes down to speaking on this knowledge and speaking on this truth, because I know it could be some pushback there, especially when it comes to what we're talking about right now. So if you don't, you know, mind, you could get into that a little bit.
I face challenges every day. I face challenges to this day. Our people have an emotional attachment to Africa. So it's very, very hard to get this message across to certain people. They just not gonna listen.
Yeah.
And it's even more sad when you realize that our people don't want nothing. They're okay with nothing. We can do so much to get things done, but they don't want anything. So I made a video. I made a very controversial video about Donald Trump versus Kamala Harris.
Hmm.
Why did I choose Kamala Harris instead of Joe Biden? Was because she was the reason people voted for Joe Biden in our community. That's a fact. So I wanted to show a politician, Donald Trump, he's the only politician I ever heard in my life, say that he had something specifically for black people. Now, whether he was lying or telling the truth, that's my first time hearing someone say that though. Like any other time, correct me if I'm wrong, they use minority. They use the code word
Or they saying
minority.
it has to be for everyone.
Exactly. If they do something for us, it's minority. It's minority.
So that everyone
So
else can get a piece. That's all that is.
he
Messy,
said
but
I have
continue.
a yep. He said I had a platinum plan for African Americans. That is very important because African Americans are the only non-immigrants in America. That's why they call us African Americans. Because real Africans go by the nation they come from, Nigerian American,
That's right.
Ghanaian American.
Tribalization. Mm-hmm.
So when you don't belong to a nation, they call you African American because you belong to this nation. That's the truth in
And that's
plain
why they
sight.
never send us back. You know, you know what I always tell people: think about why they could never even deport you, so much as deport you or any of us. They can't.
Yep.
They can't. If they
Yep.
could, they would. And I always say too, because when we look back at the American Colonization Act or Society, they were funding people obviously to go over to places like Liberia and Haiti and all of these things after the Emancipation Proclamation took place, and a lot of people refused to go. They didn't have any
Yep.
connection to Mother Africa. You
Yep.
know, they did not want to go, and they were only, and you know what? And in DC, where I'm from, there was a Emancipation Compensated Act. So a lot of people don't even know that when they declared, you know, all the slaves free in DC, there was a compensation paid out to slave owners, people who owned slaves, and even the slaves themselves. There was compensation. I think there was supposed to be. I think they got about, so I think 1 million was allotted to the whole thing when it was all said and done. But I believe that the slave owners each got, I want to say 300 per slave. that they received when they freed everyone, and then anyone who wanted to go to Liberia or Haiti would get the $100 upon leaving the country.
Wow,
So
wow.
yeah, so
Okay,
it's
that's
very
it's it, and DC is a very very funny place because
yes,
DC is not a state.
nope,
DC
nope,
is a
no
territory.
representation,
Yeah,
and yeah,
that
it's bad.
that DC is deep, but DC is the United States.
Hmm. That everyone
That's
is.
yep. DC, all of these other territories, all of these other states, they're not the United States. DC is the United States. That's the territory outside of
Because
America that
everyone else is
controls
solely running
America.
their
Exactly. Yep. Exactly. Yep.
government. There you go.
Um,
Mhm.
let me take one more break and then we could
Go
end,
ahead.
end it off. Okay, if that's okay with you.
Yep, I only have a few more. I don't have a lot more. Okay, I promise. Literally
Oh,
like
okay,
two
okay,
or three
okay.
more.
All right, we could. Okay, okay, okay. Yeah, I was about
Go
to take a
ahead. I
little
was
break.
like, oh, you wanted to take your break? We can take a break. Go ahead if
Okay,
you want
okay.
to.
So you sure? You sure? You sure you okay?
What you need, like 10 minutes? Go ahead.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like yeah, a couple minutes. I'll be right back.
That's straight.
Okay.
Go ahead.
1 second. 1 second.
All right. All right.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, the District of Columbia is a territory, and it's a territory that controls all of the other states. But the United States itself is just the District of Columbia. A lot of people don't know that, and everything else is like they're owned through coercion. So like they own all of these states, but what's happening is the states have incorporated. So before incorporated, the states was republics, right? These was all republics. These was all republics.
Mhm.
That's why when they talk about it being a democracy, that's that's ironic because there's nothing that says that the United States is a democracy nowhere at all. It only says
It's
republic
always been
and
a
to the
republic.
republic for which it stands. Yep. So the republics, what's happening now, this is what a lot of people don't know. So this is a major gem. What's happening is the states are double dipping. They're acting like governors, they're acting like governments when it suit them, and then they're also acting like corporations when it suit them. So us as the citizens, quote unquote, we don't even know that that's treason. You cannot be a state and be a I mean, you cannot be a sovereign and be a corporation at the same time.
Mhm.
Literally, you cannot do that. But because we don't understand politics, we don't know what's actually going on. They're able to do that in adverse to us. It's crazy.
Yes, it is. It's
Yeah.
insane. Because I've always said to myself, they get away with a lot of bullshit. They
Oh yeah.
really do.
Oh
And
yeah. The rabbit
it's
hole gets deep. When the rabbit hole about what they're getting away with gets deep, and literally, if our people understood that they was indigenous, we will be free tomorrow.
I'm telling
Literally, white supremacy will be over tomorrow if our people understood that we want indigenous, because really what that means is when they started, remember I told you, they started the Declaration of Independence was started from them expatriating from the British
you.
into an indigenous government. People need to understand that. So the indigenous government supersedes whatever they established after that. And that's what a lot of people need to understand. So we need to get back into our indigenous governments, not the
Mhm.
ones that's doing business with the BIA, though. So be
Right.
careful because the BIA is a trick.
Mm.
That's a trick, right? The BIA, the India Bureau of
Oh,
Affairs,
the Bureau of Indian
that's
Affairs.
Bureau of Indian Affairs. Yeah, that's a trick,
Hmm.
right? And what people need to understand about that is those tribes sold out to
Yes.
get something from the government, so they're wards of the state. So they are actually under the jurisdiction of the United States, which is contradictory because indigenous governments are not supposed to be under the jurisdiction of the United States. The United States is supposed to be under the jurisdiction of the indigenous governments, but they flipped it, and the BIA, they're basically co-conspiring to do that, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I want to tell, I want to talk to you about this, right? Let's talk about, let's briefly, because I don't want to get them too much energy. Let's briefly talk about the Native Americans for a second, okay?
Let's talk about it.
Okay. So I find it very ironic that this supposed to be their land, but yet we was marching, we was fighting, we was doing all it. Where were they at historically? I really need to know. For this to be your land, why haven't y'all put up a fight for it?
You know what? And I always want to know this too. And I always say, well, if our ancestors owned all of these acres of land, I'm talking about, I just read something in Mississippi where, I mean, in the state of Mississippi where Black Americans or so-called Black Americans owned upwards of 800,000 acres of land. We're talking
Yep.
800,000 acres. So I'm thinking to myself, so how the hell was these Native Americans owning us again? How did they own us? But we owned all this land, but somehow we were enslaved to them? That's not making any sense.
That makes no sense. Like,
So,
how, like
listen,
we
please.
like we had to
We
put
know
together we had to put together a Houdini trick at that point. Because how is that possible? How is that possible for us to get so much land right after slavery? That is and y'all didn't give us the 40 acres and a mule. Y'all didn't give that to
who
us.
never gave it to us,
Yep.
acted like they was, but didn't. So you know what? And I always keep asking these questions because I always tell people like, there's no way they enslaved us. There's no way. And when we look at census records and things like that, when we talk about going back when we first started, and if we're looking at our presence in this country now, when the census first started, there was only black and white. That's
Yep.
it. So who else was here? They weren't here. They're Asian. To me, my opinion is they're Asian Siberians coming over the Bering Strait. That's their DNA. That's where it comes from. Um, I think that people have this notion that we are trying to assimilate and take whatever culture that they have created. And I always tell people, no, absolutely not. We are already in our culture every day. When you look at us, when we're dressing the way we're dressing, when we're talking the way we're talking, when we're moving the way we're moving, when we're whatever it is, when we're eating what we're eating, when we're having our block parties out there, when we're having our fish fries, whatever we doing, that's our culture. When we're creating our music, when we're doing our hip hop, when we're creating our dances, when we're doing all of these things, that is our culture. If there's no way in no one's trying to be or emulate a Native American. No shade. Who are they emulating? Us.
They don't got nothing to
Us.
emulate. There's
So
nothing
come
to
on
emulate.
now. Come on now. I just think that when we say that we're indigenous, that's exactly what the fuck we mean. Okay?
Yep.
We
Yep.
don't mean anything different. We're
Yep.
not trying to assimilate and take whatever. We know that you all just got here in 1860. You all were not here before us. And I
That's a
think that a
fact.
lot of people don't understand this. And I think that, you know, in conjunction, not even just with the Native American thing, but just even in conjunction with the whole slave trade narrative, it's just like, there's no way you could be indigenous because they brought you on a ship and you came from there. And we have everyone trying to tell us who we are. And then, when we get to this space where we want to say, you know what, bump what y'all talking about. My mother told me it was some Indian in there. My grandmother said it was some Indian in there, and she's right. And she's right. Look at these. Look at that. Okay,
And,
look. Yes.
and, and you know what kills me too? How we know that y'all conspired against us, and this is how you could tell they conspired against us, right? Because when you look inside their tribes, you see two type of people in their tribes. Okay, you don't see one type of phenotype. You see two type of phenotypes, and one of those phenotypes look like the colonizers.
Yes. There you go.
So y'all have
They know
no
it too.
issue. with colonizers being a part of this, but when it comes to us being a part of it, that's where you draw the line. Something's up with that.
Exactly. Even down to like when we're talking about our history, because I always tell people too, like whether y'all like it or not, whether y'all feel like we part or whole or whatever, that's our history. That's a part of us and that's connected to us. And y'all
Yep,
don't have to like it, but it's actual factual. Whether y'all want to keep talking about this amount of African, that amount of your DNA, none of that matters. We're a part of this soil. We came from this soil, and that's what it is, honey.
that's a
There's
fact.
nothing else.
That's a
And
fact.
now it's one thing if I actually saw this in my genealogy, if I actually saw some African or I, whatever. I saw European before I saw a blooded African.
Yep,
Okay, I keep telling
yep.
people it's not about any of that stuff. Like when we look at everything that they've done in this country to keep us down and still continue to do, that should let you know right there. That should let you know right there that we are a special, distinct group, that they do not want to rise on any level because they know the moment that we do. And they know that's all I'm gonna say. They know the moment that we do.
That's a fact.
they yeah,
That's a
man.
fact.
It's up to
So,
us.
yep, yep. They're gatekeeping. They're, they're gatekeeping. I guess who could be an Indian and who could not be Indian.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, we know who run America as far as culture, and it's
Mm,
us, hands
yeah.
down.
And that's it. And they know it. So I probably just got a few more for you, y'all. Like I said, not too much.
Okay.
Um, but let me ask you this. So, what advice do you have for individuals who are just starting to question the narratives presented to them?
What advice do I have for them? Um.
Because we know how it was when we first started, learning and understanding.
Okay.
So, just whatever
The,
advice you may have for someone who's
that's a
trying to
good
understand.
question.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good question. The advice I have for them is question key things like who taught you about history? Where did you learn about history from? Who taught you about anything? When you went to school, who was teaching you? Right? Strangers was
Mhm.
teaching you in school. Okay, go further now. Why were they teaching you and who funded those teachers? Once you question that, so first you learn your history, you question who taught you your history, and then once you understand that they have to teach a curriculum and that
Mhm.
curriculum is funded by someone, that's going to show you that whoever funded that curriculum can push whatever narrative they want because they're footing the bill.
Mhm.
That needs to be understood. Then, after you understand that, because that's very, very, very key, is to understand who's funding your education. Then, what I need you to do is, I need you to figure out why are Black people pledging Greek? Do your history on that. You know we not Greeks. You know we not Greeks. So why are Black people pledging Greeks, and why do Greeks have Black chapters?
Hmm.
Question that. Do the rabbit hole on that. Try to understand why are they pledging Greek. Then, after you do those things, then I need you to look at who's teaching your master teachers. So you went from school to fraternities. Now you got your Dr. Umars and I don't even know some of the elder ones, but I know it's a lot of them.
Yeah.
All of
Yeah.
them dudes. I don't really know their names like that, but you know,
No, I
who
got
was
you.
teaching them? Who was teaching the pro Africans? Who were they Who was their teachers? Were they a part of any fraternities? Okay. Are fraternities pushing the agenda?
Hmm.
Are they pushing the agenda? Once you start to understand that, where did your master teachers get their education from? Once you start to understand that, and here's the last thing I want them to understand after that, we're going to go back to the school. So now, once you know that you got your master teachers and you got you got a paper trail, now I need you to pay attention to the HBCUs. See who these HBCUs are named after. See who these HBCUs are funded by. Once you start to understand that, you'll start to realize that your whole entire blackness has been orchestrated and simulated for you, even down to a school that has all black people in it. It's been orchestrated for you. Once you understand that,
You ain't never.
huh? What you say?
Yeah, so you ain't never lied. Go ahead.
Yeah,
You're
yeah.
not lying.
Once you
You're not lying.
real talk. Once you start to understand these cues, that's going to help you accept this information we're pushing better because you're going to realize how much it makes sense. Carter G. Woodson, The Miseducation of the Negro. Ivan Van Sertima, We Were Here Before Columbus. That is a Pan-African book. Why is it a Pan-African book? Because he assumed that these black people that were here were Africans. And the last advice I got for them, because I know it's a lot, but this is the last advice that I have for them. Charles Darwin created the out of Africa theory. The out of Africa theory was created to say that we evolved from monkeys. Okay? That needs to be understood. So, black people didn't create the out of Africa theory. Charles Darwin created the out of Africa theory to prove that pale skin predates dark skin. That needs to be understood. So once you understand that he created the out of Africa theory, now you can start doing some diligent research and seeing what was the reason for him to create it. Then you're gonna start looking into eugenics. Then
Mm-hmm.
you're gonna start looking into birth control, abortions. I
Yeah.
call them the ABCs. I call
It's
them the
all gonna fall
ABCs.
in line.
Yep.
Yeah.
Start to understand this. Now, when you arrive to this knowledge, now you have an open mind to understand that you've been lied to in so many ways. And the last message, like I said, I got for them, I set that up to say this: dark skin, melanin, carbon is not exclusive to one area of the earth. It's exclusive to the entire earth. Earth first inhabitants are dark-skinned people.
Mhm.
And they didn't just all come from one place and scatter everywhere. They was always in every area of the planet. And that's the last thing I want to tell to them. So stop
Yes.
thinking Africa means black. It does not. Actually, what we need to do is replace African with Aboriginal. Why? Because that's what y'all think the definition is. Y'all think that you got African Americans, African Cubans. Y'all think that these anything that's dark is African something. That's what y'all think. No, anything that's dark is Aboriginal something. Aboriginal American, Aboriginal African, Aboriginal Australian. That's what you need to do. You need to replace Because that's what they really saying. They really saying when they say that they really mean Aboriginal. So if we could just replace African, because African makes you exclusive to one landmass, Aboriginal does not. When you say you're Aboriginal, then you got to say the landmass that associates with that Aboriginalness. When you say you're African, there's only one landmass that associate with that, and that's the advice I'm gonna give them.
Period. Okay. So listen, if shoot, I think we're really, really good. I think that I just would like for you to be able to put out there how people can support your work and how people can stay connected with you.
Okay.
We can get it on the screen and everything. But you just state your YouTube platform, your Instagram platform where anybody can reach you if they want to,
Okay.
ask you any additional questions or anything like that.
Yeah.
And
Okay. So you can follow me on Instagram at Brickz with a Z, at JAHBRICKZ. That page is mostly health, but I here and there I dip and dab into a bunch of different wide range of subjects, and I'm about to start diversifying that page a little bit more as well. I also have a page called Voice of the Aboriginals. That
Mhm.
page is exclusive Aboriginal content. So if you want to go to that page and get your Aboriginal information in, you come to that page and I'm letting it go and I'm teaching it. You can also go to Voice of the Aboriginal on YouTube. That's my YouTube channel. I just reached 1,000 subscribers on there. I don't even be on YouTube like that, but I'm about to start being on it more often now because
Yes, come through because you
yeah,
got to
yeah,
come up to a
definitely.
couple live streams and stuff.
Yep,
Because
yep, yep,
everyone
definitely.
was looking like, "Well, is he gonna actually be live on the joint?" I said, "No, we're gonna pre-record," but
Yeah,
I said maybe we'll
exactly.
work something out and he'll come on and
Oh yeah, no, no,
I'm sure he'll do it.
yeah,
Yeah, so we'll
we're
see.
gonna
I
definitely
told
get
him
a
we'll
live
work it
in.
out.
Yeah, we're gonna definitely get a live in
Yeah,
as well or whatever. I'm just transitioning, doing a lot of stuff at the moment, so I wanted to make sure that I could have this conversation, and like I said, I got to do a little breaks here and there, so I want to make sure that you could cut that out, delete, like you could cut that part out and stuff like that, and we could just get the meat and potatoes versus taking a break live. You know what I'm saying, or whatever the case may be.
exactly.
So,
I totally agree. I
yeah,
felt like it was a
definitely.
great because like I said, it's a first for me too. So like I said, I'm still learning it as well. And you know what? I'm just super super grateful for you. I'm very appreciative of you. I hope that you never stop what you're doing. I hope that you continue to be our voice and you continue to reach out to our people the way that you do. It's very commanding. It's like you draw people in right away with with your looks, your personality, everything. You just draw it all in, and it's easy to hear it from you. So I really
Hmm.
hope that you continue doing what you're doing, that you never ever stop. And even on my end, I'm never going to stop either. I love us and I love what we're about. And like this truth just made it even more of a purposeful, meaningful thing for me. So just once again, just thank you so much, Ja.
Thank you as
And
well. Thank you as well. I really appreciate this. I really appreciate that you creating a platform for our people. Whenever you need me, and I'm free. I got some time to free it up. Could definitely come on here, chat with you. I'm about to get more incorporated into YouTube anyway, so I might could bring you on my channel sometime. We could talk, we could chop it up, and pretty much it's time to get the information to the people. After we get the information to the people, it's time to apply the knowledge so we can have these benefits that we need as indigenous people, for sure.
that's amazing. And we definitely will. So let me go ahead and just end this out. All right, family. Thank you all so much. Ja Bricks is amazing. I'm so happy that he was able to come by, take the time out of his day to talk to me and to talk to you all about our journey and what we're on and where we're trying to go. So, on that note, peace and love, family. You all have a good one. Take care and stay safe. I am so tired of that.